one thing I wanted to ask you about that is obviously you didn't carry out that plan, and that's why you're having this conversation, etc. But did you ever find that there was a moment that you had to forgive yourself for having that plan, or to like forgive yourself for being in that? Like, has that moment ever
Yes.
transpired?
Yeah, yes. And so, but there's that's multifaceted. So that actually happened. In all honesty, that happened right around 2018. I had kind of it in two in that's a hard answer. So first part of that answer is that when I was about 19 years old, right after that, the birthday party that I talk about, one of my friends saved me when I was trying to kill myself. That I had kind of like a moment of clarity, and that was kind of a step into sanity for the first time in a long, long time,
Wow.
and the first step towards getting out of all of that toxicity. And right after that, I have my move towards what I call acknowledgement, when I first started going to the people that hurt me and telling them exactly how I felt, and being like that it started. We're kind of going a roundabout way to tell the story. We're going to start at the end, but that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
We'll get back to the beginning, but there's a couple of things I wanted to get into before we like go right into the darkest, deepest place.
yeah, yeah. So the starting at the recovery part, when I first told my aunt that, when she told me that drunkenly at a bar, she's like, "Oh, you love me," and I stopped and said, "No, I don't. I don't actually love you. You tried to kill yourself in front of me. You tried to molest me. I don't love you, and I'm done." And she started screaming and flipping out, and I just turned it a white noise for me, and it felt like an anvil jumped off my chest. It was like instant relief, and that set me on a path of that acknowledgement. We're going to all the people that hurt me to do that kind of process, to like close off those relationships, not to do it in a
Amazing.
way, never to do it in a sense that you did this and you need to pay. It was always, you did this, our relationship is fundamentally changed, and I'm done. And it had nothing to do with their response. Some of them yelled, some of them cried, but I didn't care. I just wanted to get it off of me and walk away. And in
Right.
that point, I had come to terms with the fact that I'm letting go of that dark self. I'm letting go of all that past. But not, this is why it's a two-part answer. Because at that point, I kind of came to terms with, yes, I'm sorry for, I felt really remorseful for what had happened. And I was kind of dropping the whole school shooter, angry, extreme toxicity stuff. I was in the
Right.
process of getting out of that. But then for the next 30 years, that still, it still colored who I was. It still was in the background. Like my toxic family was still there. I still made fun of myself all the time. It the depression shifted to a more manageable state. It shifted out of the extreme um, crisis areas into more of a, like a status quo, in a way, where I just knew I was bad, but I was unhealthy, and I was toxic, and people didn't like me much, and it was just kind of, it became my adopted personality. And then in 2018, when I finally came out with my story, I think I experienced what psychologists call ego death, where I had to fully let go of all the shell that I had constructed, which was entirely a shell, for years, to protect myself from myself. That I had that my self-deprecating humor and my toxic affectations and all of that was all a way to reaffirm to myself that I was still that bad person, and I still deserved it.
Hmm.
And that the real growth came when I finally became fully honest with myself and the world, and dropped every bit of facade. Like, I what you see is what you get. I'm a regular dude. I work at a gas station. I go around and I talk. I don't have a script. I don't prepare for things. I just, because honesty and reality is if that can help anybody, then that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
And so even in my life, my daily life, I don't lie. I don't manipulate. I don't the tools of survival that I was taught for decades of how to do by the best people of how to teach it, by most very toxic and aggressive family, and very professional liars, very good very good mentors for that kind of subject. I had to consciously drop all of that, and in the process reconnect with things like compassion and emotion and feeling and now I sit and I will cry at a song. I will sit and watch a commercial that hits me and I'll start crying. And my daughter looks over to me and is like, "What are you crying about, Dad?" I'm like, "Well, they've got their daughter and they're just so sweet." Yeah, I have reconnected with all of that. And then the process of 2018, was like a raw exposed nerve. It was like
Yeah.
my wife told me I was like an emotional baby. Like I had to figure out what emotions were again because I had disconnected from that for so long. And so
Right.
yeah, now I'm 6 years into it, and I feel like a new man entirely.